Hi, I'm Sharon Stammers. I'm a co-founder of the Women in Lighting project, and today we are speaking with Rae Routhier in the US. She's an award-winning designer, producer, and director for live entertainment and concerts, and it's experiential entertainment. And we're going to talk to her about her journey through light and how she got to where she is today. So, Suna, could you sort of introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your job and where you're based?
Yeah, hi, I'm Rae Routhier, and I'm a production designer in the concert and live entertainment industry. It means I do scenic video, special effects, and a concentration in lighting design for the live entertainment business. I'm originally from Newport, Vermont, way up on the Quebec border in the States, and now I live in Nashville, Tennessee.
So, can you remember the sort of first time that you were excited or you got passionate about light? What triggered your journey?
Yeah, so I was a nerd in high school and really loved everything about theater and dance and band and chorus. And I ended up being on the tech crew in high school and really fell in love with the way that light lights the body for dance. And then I ended up going to see my first concert when I was a senior in high school, so 1997. And that concert was Smashing Pumpkins' Melancholy in the Infinite Sadness tour. And I just fell in love with the way lighting was reacting to music and decided that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go on the road with bands and light their shows.
So, how did you sort of make that happen? Do you have any formal qualifications or education in lighting?
I did. I actually started in the concert industry, though, just as a weekend and a summer job. I ended up working for a rental house that provided gear for shows, local shows. But I did that while I was in school training to be a lighting designer for theater. So I went to this small school in Northern Vermont called Johnson State College, and I got a 2-year degree in just general studies. And then I transferred that to Emerson College and finished with a technical theater degree and a concentration in lighting design.
So the other skills that you're sort of you're using in your work at the moment, I know that you're involved in pyrotechnics and that kind of thing. Is that stuff that you've learned on the way, or have you sort of had to study anything else?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, honestly, like when it comes to a production design like that, when there is pyrotechnics involved and like large scenic elements that require engineering and rigging, you really rely on a team of experts to help you through it. So when it comes to pyrotechnics, I don't necessarily have the skills to be able to do it. I'm not that cool. There are people way cooler than I am that can do that. But it's more of like, I know what I want to see. And so I can dictate, this is what I want it to look like and feel like. And then that usually happens with the collaboration of just some incredible artists. It really is just a massive team effort. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the pyrotechnic skills in particular, just like, they're not really skills as much as like what I like to see aesthetically. A lot of that came from just working with large rock bands like Kiss and Motley Crue, and with a business partner of mine by the name of Robert Long, who is really, really good at seeing visions of how he wanted to see fire and effects rolling. So, yeah.
Yeah, we definitely don't get to work with fire and pyrotechnics in the architectural world, but which is a shame.
Yeah.
Can you
insurance problems?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Can you describe your sort of typical process for creating a design? Do you have like a brief from a client, or how does it work? Or do you introduce a concept to the client, to the band, for example? How does it work?
Yeah, I mean, it's different every time. Like every time I think I have a process down, it gets flipped on its head somehow. So usually I just start with a lot of research. Like if I get asked by a manager to jump in on creative for an artist, I usually start by researching as much as I can, the past, present, and future of what they're planning on doing, if it's an album cycle or any sort of branding that they're planning on doing to carry forth into a tour. And then the most important thing is getting on the phone with the artist, and it's more of like a video call or a face-to-face meeting, because when you're face-to-face with somebody, you can see hand movements like what I'm doing now, right? You can see facial gestures and understand exactly what they want. And even though they might not say it, when you say something, it can trigger a response that which way to go with. So it's always a face-to-face meeting somehow. And then from there, we develop the creative concepts and present them with, a comprehensive deck of images and renders and photoreal renders and then tech drawings and everything. And once it's approved, it's kind of go like hell time. Submit to vendors, get that gear rolling, and then get into rehearsals and make it happen. And it sounds quick, but it's not. Sometimes it takes a year. Sometimes it takes 2 months. Sometimes, if you really can get it done, it can be done in 2 weeks, but that's really rare, especially these days. So
have you ever had a brief that was very restricted, i.e. like you just had to, I don't know, do something very specific? Or can you give us an example?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a specific example because I'd have to think back through those processes. But, sometimes they say exactly what they want and you just make it happen, right? Like, sometimes their ideas are very lofty, but you still have to figure out how to make it happen. I kind of describe it as like this, like if it's the artist that's the creative director or they have hired a creative director, that person is supposed to think completely outside the box about everything. They're supposed to just dream big and give you the concepts of what they want. And then a production designer's role is to take those concepts and turn them into reality. If they say defy gravity, well, that hasn't been figured out yet, but maybe there's a way to make it look like you can defy gravity, right? So I think it's just that, like, sometimes it's not so restricted as much as it can be a challenge to just try to figure those ideas out.
I mean, all of the things, the work or the things you've mentioned or I've seen on your website are all quite big budget. So have you had to do anything with a sort of small restricted budget? Yeah.
It's funny because there are definitely some on there that are very small restricted budgets. So apparently we have some great production photographers that make it look massive.
Well, I was just told by the fire and the color changing and all that.
I mean, I work with artists that carry around trailers behind their buses still. For me, it's not really about the budget and like how the size of the production. It's about making cool stuff with cool people. So I don't really, I don't really care if it's the budget is massive or tiny. I just would, if it's a cool project, I want to do it.
Yeah. So do you have any, are there any other sort of lighting designers that influence your work or that you have had as a mentor or that you admire?
Yeah, I mean, I'm influenced all the time by people. I love to look at, my fellow designers' work and, try to be inspired or just like so happy that they're creating such amazing things. Rob Sinclair is doing some really beautiful stuff right now. I absolutely love his work. I mean, I could basically list them all, but we would be here forever. I was first inspired by Willie Williams and all of his work on U2, and also, Mark Fisher and everything. Pink Floyd, like the Pulse Tour was one of my all-time favorite shows. I never got to see it live, but I watched it on Laserdisc, if you guys remember what that is. So yeah, I mean, I've been inspired by many designers throughout the ages.
And do you find inspiration outside sort of your world as well, in art and film?
Constantly.
And things like that?
Constantly. Storefronts are big ones. Like people do amazing window displays. I have so many pictures on my phone of just window displays. It's so funny. Anything, interiors. I actually started a small home staging company here in Nashville during the pandemic, and interior design was a really big influence for me for the past 2 years. And it's helped me really think about scenic design in a whole new way.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. I never imagined you having this sort of whole thing of shop windows. I thought it'd be
It's funny, right? Yeah, that galleries. I'm constantly trying to go to art galleries when I'm traveling to see various exhibits. And yeah, I've been lucky enough to be in London a lot recently. So I've been able to see a lot of really cool stuff in London because there's always amazing art exhibits.
Yeah, we have some really good light art stuff over the last few years. Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you say is the biggest challenge you've had in your career so far?
Oh, I mean, honestly, like probably pretty standard answer these days, but this pandemic has been really hard. And it's not only just, the time of not working and not being able to create in that creative outlook, but honestly, it's really hard right now to get started again. there's just some massive challenges, and it's things that nobody really knew to think about, or because shipping charges are so much higher, logistics are so much more difficult, and that just has such a trickle down effect to everything. Like the fixtures that I can choose might not be available because they're not going to be off the shipping container by the time the tour starts, or even the stuff off the shelf. Everything's so busy now, it's really hard even to just find gear and people. So I would say that's the biggest challenge for me right now, is just trying to overcome all those struggles that we're now finding that are developing because of the pandemic, for sure.
Yeah, we were having a conversation the other day where someone was giving a 50-week lead time on product, which is insane.
It's insane. And and that's just like, that's across the board, right? So yeah, anything from scenic materials to, I don't know, you name it. It's just crazy. LED tape. If you want to use LED tape in a set, it's really difficult because the silicon is they don't have enough silicon to make the chips for the drivers that drive the LED tape. And then, yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No,
yeah.
It's in all industries as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you, I mean, that leads on to a question, I guess, like over the course of your career, how do you feel about the changing lighting technology, that what you were able to use when you were at college to what you can use now?
Yeah. I mean, I can't really keep up with it. So I collaborate with a team of people that help me do that. I've got this incredible drafter render person who also just developed a product through the pandemic. His name is Matt G-Eazy, and he developed this networking tool that allows you to program a show remotely and operate it almost in real time. So I rely heavily on his knowledge for technology because I just can't keep up with it, with everything else going on. But I mean, I think it's just as technology progresses, you just learn to work with it. So when I was working with Parkans and Lecos in college, and then moved on to my first moving lights, you just learn a different medium and you just work through it and you continue on. And now it's like, okay, what is the new tracking system that I can use to track a performer on stage? Will it work in a stadium situation when the distance is 265 feet from the tower where the light is to the performer on stage? Like how does that going to work out? And you just kind of like learn through it and troubleshoot when you need to. So, but I mean, I definitely really do love LED technology, and the fact that, when I'm doing a rock concert or an EDM show or whatever, you can really change the colors super fast. You don't have to wait for color flags, or back in the Parkan days, it's not a gel swap and a shin buster for dance, So it's really, it's fun to see how it progresses. And it's really difficult to keep up with.
Yeah. We can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
In terms, how fast product changes. I was just going to ask you a little bit, it wasn't on my list of questions, but sort of about sustainability, and how your industry is kind of taking on, the need to change and to be more sustainable and be greener and be a bit more circular in the product or the way we operate. How's that impacting your side of the world, your side of lighting?
Yeah, I mean, LED for sure is a big help. Claypaky has also developed that laser engine light, which I believe there's another manufacturer that's also got one, potentially GLP. But I think that the manufacturers are doing a great job of finding ways to be more sustainable with their products. I'm a big proponent of using IP65 on every show I possibly can, if it's going outdoors, because then you're not swapping out fixtures as quickly. And that's something I've been really pushing with manufacturers. Like if you're going to develop a new light and you're asking me what the features are, I will not put it on the show unless it's IP65 rated, period, end of story. It's not going to happen. Unless that show's inside all the time, which these days it's really rare, especially with new, restrictions. And also with the heavy festival circuits that artists are doing these days, it's really difficult to find a show that's not going to be outside at some point. So that's the main change, like the main things I'm trying to do. As far as scenic design is concerned, it's really hard because, you're building things for people that are bespoke that might not be used later on. So I'm trying hard to find ways to build scenic pieces that can have some sort of end of life where it's not, it's being recycled, reused, donated in some way, shape, or form, instead of just going to sit in a storage area for, you know, the end of time.
Yeah, forever.
Yeah, and also trying really hard to use what's on the shelf at scenic companies, which is very difficult because everybody is so slammed, everything's out the door already. And also, like, it might be less sustainable to rework a piece because of the stuff you have to add to it to make it bespoke, you know? So it's definitely a fine line. It's difficult. I think it's going to be hard for our industry to be absolutely perfect and sustainable right off the bat. Like, this is a marathon, not a sprint. But no matter what, you know, we do, as long as we're moving the needle a little bit with every single tour we put out there, then we're doing the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you got a favorite project? Is there something you've worked on that you would look back and go, you know, that's my proudest or my most favorite?
You're gonna get me fired.
Okay, you don't have to answer.
I'm
I was
totally joking.
completely intrigued by the Game of Thrones experience.
That's up there for sure.
Yeah.
That is definitely up there because I was such a massive fan. I read all the books and yeah, I get to meet a couple of the actors. I was so excited about it. Yeah, and I got to meet the showrunners, and then Ramin, obviously, who is just this incredible composer. And also, I'm a super nerd, and I realize now that he did some of the Marvel movies as well. So I'm like, every time I hear the Marvel movies soundtracks, I'm like, Ramin. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely up there. I don't necessarily have a favorite because they're all so different. This is like choosing between like Chicago style pizza and New York pizza. They're so different. You can't have a favorite. They're both amazing. So I don't know if I could necessarily say a favorite, but Game of Thrones is up there. Absolutely. I also really loved working on The Weeknd. He's just the loveliest. And obviously Coldplay, like, come on, it's Coldplay. They're amazing. Like, it's so much fun to watch them perform. And it's so much fun to create their shows with Misty Buckley, the production designer. She's just this freaking powerhouse, amazing woman, and so much fun to collaborate with. So, yeah.
And when does their next tour start?
It's in Costa Rica. I believe it's March 18th, but don't hold me to that. I'd have to look.
Very soon.
You know, obviously we have some pre-production work to go through and rehearsals and stuff. So, but yeah.
Okay, cool. Just a couple of last questions.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is for the Women in Lighting project. And we started off where we were speaking mostly to women that worked in architectural design because that was our world.
Yeah.
And we've branched out now to talk to women working in entertainment and art and education, all sorts of other things. We know that sort of lighting for music is a largely sort of male-dominated domain, and that might present some challenges. Do you think that women are given an equal opportunity in your work field? Do you think that's the case, or do you think there's a way to go?
I mean, I see so many women in concert lighting these days, so I think that it's definitely equaling out for sure. I honestly never really had it bad. Like, I at least maybe I'm just naive to it. I don't know, but I've always had so many amazing men that have lifted me up and mentored me that I never really had too many challenges. Like I said, unless it's just naivete and I just didn't realize it. But I would say, I mean, no, I think we're equaling out really well. In fact, I get asked all the time, like, do I know any really powerful female LDs that could go out and do a project? And obviously I send them both male and female because, you know, it's about the right person for the right job. Right. But yeah, I've seen so many women out there now doing this. I remember going to festivals and like being the only woman out front of house for years. And that doesn't happen anymore. Ever.
So it's changing. It's good that it's changing, and that's what we found in architecture.
Yeah.
One of the things about the project is that it's supposed to be celebratory, so it's supposed to be looking at just all the amazing work that women do within lighting, and not really, you know, not a complaining platform or sort of, you know, talking about challenges. But in general, it seems that all the stories we hear, that whatever field of lighting you work in, it's very supportive, it's very creative, and really a great place to be, whether you're male or female. So would you, if there are any young women out there that watch this interview and they're looking to aspire to do something like you, would you have any advice for them?
I mean, just go for it. That's my advice. Like I try to tell them not to don't go into it thinking I'm about to enter a male dominated industry. Like that's the first, don't do that. Because once you do that, you've instantly put a stigma on the job, and it doesn't exist unless you create it, right? So my first thing is just to say, just do it. Just go and do it. Like walk into the vendor that is near you and tell them you want to learn, there's so many different avenues too now, right? So you could be a tech, you could be a programmer, you can be a designer, you can be an operator, you can be an IT person on tour now. So it's really about finding that avenue and then sticking to it and networking properly and being a kind person and being, open to learning and ask the right questions and always communicate with people that are in the industry doing what you want to do, because you never know when that job's going to come around and you have to take it.
Mm-hmm.